All right, and joining me now from the Miami Herald to talk about NFL free agency, Adam Beasley. Weird time in sports, Adam, obviously, with the coronavirus and how it's affecting the timeline of things. But as of right now, free agency scheduled to happen as planned, and we're now just hours away. Are you a fan of this kind of taking place as scheduled? Just people, honestly, are just kind of craving some sports news right now, I think.
Yeah, Ruthie, it's a double-edged sword. Obviously, we need a distraction. Entertainment's been cut down to next to nothing. You have Netflix, you have whatever your cable package is, and that's about it these days. Sports are ground to a halt except for UFC. So part of us need this, right? We need the distraction. We need something going on. But the NFL is a little leery of this visual. Hey, everyone's stock market, everyone's 401k is in the toilet. We're worried about our health. Things are shut down. And oh yeah, we're going to hand out $1 billion of contracts in the next week and a half. That's not a great visual. I still think it's going to go forward. We're less than 72 hours away now, and there's been no word from the league yet it's going to change. This is the bigger issue, not just the optics of it, but how it works. Because yes, there are a ton of contracts that get agreed to over the phone. A lot of these happen within the first couple of minutes of free agency starting. But the physicals are just as important as the terms of the contract. And how are you going to be able to sign somebody with great conviction that his health is good without putting him through a physical? So I think a lot of these are going to be contingent on the player passing the physical, and that's something that can happen down the road. But if you listen to health experts, this isn't a 2-week, 3-week fix. This could be months until travel is back up and running. So you could have deals that are agreed to this week fall through in 2 months when they actually put their hands on the player.
So this could be kind of an extended free agency period. Honestly, dominoes could be moving, even months down the road, which I think is super interesting. In terms of the Dolphins, just kind of their mindset heading into free agency. I know they have all this cap space, but they might not, really use it all.
Yeah, no. I think back to almost a year ago to today that we spoke to Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, about how the rebuild is going to go. And he said, look, there are a ton of players that we need at very important positions. Those players can't be bought. They have to be drafted. They've seen the error of their ways in the past. They spent a ton of money on guys like Ndamukong Suh, Mike Wallace, Brandon Albert. The list goes on and on. These free agents that never really lived up to their contract, they swear they're not going to make that mistake again. My thinking is this. Instead of signing 2 or 3 really big name players, they're going to sign 10, 11, 12 smaller name players, spread the money around. They're trying to build a complete roster here. So, yes, there are some really appealing big names out there. I think Chris Jones of the Chiefs would be a great fit for the Dolphins. Joe Thuney of the Patriots would be a great fit for the Dolphins. But if each of those guys takes more than $15 to $18 million out of their salary cap, I don't think that's a deal they want to make.
If you were to prioritize kind of where to spread the money out between the offense and the defense, maybe even position specific, where would you kind of put some guys at this point?
You got a dart and a dartboard because you could just throw it and any position would be an upgrade for them, really. They're going to draft a quarterback. They're not going to sign a quarterback. Sure. So Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be their starter to start the 2020 season. But other than that, they could upgrade really anywhere. Yes, they have a great corner, Xavier Howard, but they need another great corner so they could, go and prioritize corner. Anywhere in the front seven, they need help. They were the worst team in the league when it comes to sacks last year. They need a pass rusher. They need linebackers who can cover. They need a lot of different things to make this team better. On the offensive side, they need not 1, not 2, but 3 starting offensive linemen.
Sure.
And they're going to be costly. We talked about Thuney. I don't think he is really a true option for them because of how much money he's going to command. I think Teddy Karras, who is also from that Patriot way, he might be an option. He might be more a realistic option because he's not going to cost as much. But no, they need help in the trenches. I think that was one of the failings of 2019 is they didn't rebuild the trenches like they could have. They need offensive and defensive linemen, and they need a lot of them.
Adam, you probably know this, but I come from covering the Patriots, so I'm very familiar with Ted Karras and Joe Thuney, both of them huge fans, super versatile players. Obviously, that's kind of the Patriot way up there. Those guys can kind of move around the line, and they both kind of did that this past season. So I like those 2 names getting thrown around here. Ryan Tannehill, the Titans quarterback, the first kind of big domino to fall here. We're hearing reports of him signing a big deal, which also affects this huge quarterback free agency. What's your reaction to Tannehill staying in Nashville? And, obviously there's a big name, Tom Brady, that we think that affects.
Well, it's jaw-dropping, the numbers, because the Dolphins a year ago at this time basically said you're not worth $24, $25 million against your cap. And the Titans said, hold my beer. You're worth $29 million against our cap. And, oh, yeah, you just led us to the AFC Championship game. So, yes, the salary cap goes up every year. It went up another 5% this year, up to, I believe, $198 million, which is actually a bit lower than was expected. I think everyone around the league thought it'd be over $200 million. It's just below that. But regardless, Tannehill performed. It was a show-me kind of deal. Like, you have 1 year to show us that you're a starting NFL quarterback. And did he ever? He was the highest-rated quarterback in the league, was a game away from the Super Bowl, and he's being paid like it. I mean, $30 million for Ryan Tannehill is a jaw-dropping sum, but that's the market. And then you wonder, what is Patrick Mahomes going to get? If Ryan Tannehill gets $30 million, Patrick Mahomes is going to get $40 million. And I think that's the importance the Dolphins have seen. You can't go out and get a quarterback. You know, Phillip Rivers is on the market. Tom Brady's been on the market, although I think he's going to end up going back to New England at this point. You can't really solve that problem through free agency. What you have to do is you have to go and find one, draft one, develop one, and win with one. And that's what the Dolphins are going to do. Yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick was a feel-good story last year, and he's going to start for them again this year, at least to begin the season. But if they want to get back to where they were 30 years ago, they absolutely have to draft, develop, and win with the quarterback, and then re-sign him to, at that point, might be $50 million a year, which just makes my head explode.
The other big news of the day, this new CBA, which is very complicated, in-depth. Can you kind of break it down for NFL fans and what's important here, and what are we going to see really happen kind of soon?
Right. Here's the biggest change for fans, because, yes, there's a lot that help the players and there's a lot that help the owners. But the biggest change for fans is this. Starting this year, starting in 2020, they are going to a 14-team playoff. It's been 12 for as long as I can remember. It's going to 14 now. So there'll be an extra team in each conference going to the playoffs. That's change number one for fans. Change number two, in 2021, not this season, but next season, it will be a 17-game season. 9 home games for some teams and 8 for the others, and then they'll alternate the conference who has the majority of the home games. So if you love football and you want more football, you're getting more football. And that's great, obviously, for the league because they want more money from TV partners, and the TV partners want the content. We're seeing right now with nothing on television, ESPN is absolutely hurting for programming. This is going to help all parties involved. The only downside, Ruthie, is this. If the league is really concerned about player safety, what are you doing now when you're adding a 17th game for every team and then 2 more playoff games each season? That is a lot more opportunity for players to get hurt. Yes, they think they have the concussion problem under control. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think it's still a real issue around the league. But player safety, I think the league is kind of lacking still in that regard if they're okay with a 17th game. More the nuts and bolts of the agreement, the players are getting more money from 47% of the revenue sharing to 48.5%. The minimum is going up $100,000 per player, so every single player that's on the minimum is going to get a raise next year. Fewer practices, the drug policy has been changed. All in all, I think it's pretty much a fair deal for the players. What shocked me was how close the voting was. Nearly 2,000 players voted for this deal on this deal, and there was a difference, I think, of 60 votes between yes and no. It was 1.5–2% difference that made the difference between this voting and this going down in flames. So really a consequential weekend, and it sets us up for a huge week. The CBA was ratified Saturday night, announced Sunday. Tomorrow is the deadline tomorrow is not only the deadline for franchise tags, but it's also when you can start talking to other teams' free agents. And Wednesday at 4 o'clock, you can start signing those free agents. We're having an enormous amount of news condensed into 1 week. And the greatest pandemic in recent history is going on at the same time. It's really a wild time for the NFL.
Adam Beasley, in a time when we are craving just to talk about sports, you kind of just gave us that fix. So I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Anytime.